ads kind of give you the ability to knock a lot more doors virtually.
All right, what's up, friends? I'm here with my buddy Carson Nugent. Carson is a Facebook marketing advertising expert and someone that is a part of our team here at Contractor Dynamics. Awesome dude. Looking forward to kind of digging in here and picking his brain a little bit on how do you get social media advertising to work? Like, how do you get lead gen to work for your contracting company? How do what are a lot of companies doing wrong? How do you put those right pieces in place? So we're going to dive into that and a lot more today with Mr. Carson Nugent. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to it. So today we'll kind of just go a little bit of a deep dive on between me and Joe, just a lot of different ad experience and kind of different coaching experience with kind of seeing the pitfalls and kind of seeing where typically the best room for improvement, what is really going to move the needle in your business in the lead gen campaigns and take you from really having really taking you to a point where it's consistency, predictable, and ultimately getting you to the point of being the go-to company in your neighborhood. So glad to be here and looking forward to the next 30, 45 minutes and delivering some value to everybody watching.
Right on. That's what we're all about, adding value. So so Facebook ads is one of those things that, for anyone watching or listening, you believe that there's an opportunity there. You believe it can work for you, and you just haven't been able to figure it out. Or whether it's been on your own, whether you've hired a marketing company, a marketing agency to do it for you, a marketer, whatever, you just haven't figured out that formula to get consistent results. Consistency is something that Carson just mentioned. Consistent, predictable, scalable lead flow and appointment flow and deal flow so that you can grow with predictability. And so that's what we're going to dive into today. I'll let Carson introduce himself in a minute, but as a quick background from my perspective, I was introduced to Carson via a mutual friend about 6 months ago. And Carson is a part-time trainer, marketing trainer on our team here at Contractor Dynamics. He leads our Tech Tuesday calls inside our marketing training program, where we go into our clients' ad campaigns and help them analyze the data and then make adjustments and improve and work on their ad copy and their offers and really the whole system. So Carson has been a huge asset to our team over the past 6 months, leading those calls and also hopping on one-on-one calls with our clients to help them improve their advertising over time. And so one of the benefits that our clients get is one-on-one time with this man right here to really pull up, lift up the hood and go inside and make those adjustments to make that machine, run more powerfully. In addition to that, Carson also runs our ads at Contractor Dynamics. Carson and I kind of team up on that from a strategy perspective, from a content perspective, and then Carson's the one that's behind the scenes actually running those ad campaigns. And it's been a huge asset to our business just to have someone in there that's helping me as the marketing manager and owner, really build out and strategize and then run those campaigns. So we are introducing Carson to our market as a member of our team, as a highly paid expert and or highly paid. Oh yeah, I guess you are, but a paid authority. A highly accomplished expert as well. So you get what you pay for, right? So, that being said, Carson, I would love to share with the audience and from my personal knowledge as well, give us a little bit of backstory as to where you come from, where you're at now, how you got into Facebook ads and, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so everyone, my name's Carson Nugent. I'm right now I'm located out in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've been out here for about 12 years now. Was born in Atlanta, lived there for about 8 years, went to Dallas, was there for about 2 years, and then I came out here. So if you do the math, obviously I'm a little bit younger right now, 22 at the moment. So essentially how I kind of got started in Facebook ads was when I was in high school. It was kind of like the Wild West of Instagram and Facebook. So I was really, in terms of it was a lot less regulated in terms of using bots and stuff like that. So kind of my first real introduction to social media was actually building Instagram pages in the dog niche, like for French bulldogs, like pit bulls. I love dogs, like dog moms, stuff like that. So that was kind of like my intro into everything. And then fast forward to college, about a year and a half, I was studying finance at Arizona State. Was like running a little bit of ads, kind of had a few local clients, but just didn't really understand like the business side of things yet. So it was more kind of just for fun and kind of learning. But then after about a year and a half in school, kind of just decided I wanted to do my own thing. But obviously, if you do your own thing and you're in college, you're probably not going to have a lot of money. So I was kind of decided I was going to do the marketing stuff, but in the meantime, I was doing door-to-door sales actually in the roofing and solar space. And I was actually went out back to Atlanta for about 6 months and was back out here for about 6 months. So I kind of was doing storm restoration in both those markets, and then eventually ended up running ads for myself, kind of generating my own leads. And then kind of saw the power of it and how to really maximize the cost per lead, what kind of people you're bringing in, how to contact them, and really how to take it from just somebody submitting their info to you actually being on the property and doing the inspection or scheduling an appointment or whatever that looks like. So once I kind of realized the power of that, I was like, I need to go all in on this. So really, right when I got like 1 or 2 clients, I was just like, this is my full-time thing now. Kind of started being more active on Facebook, and for people that are active on Facebook in the business sense, you kind of know just how it is to how you can kind of quickly build and connect with a lot of really great people on there. So I started doing that, was fortunate enough to meet the right people, and get in touch with some really good people like Joe. And luckily, I like working with roofing solar contractor type companies in this industry. So I've been able to work with a lot of cool people in the space. And yeah, so that's essentially where I'm at now, but I've been doing that for basically my own business for around 3 years now, 100% Facebook ads, and just love numbers, love kind of seeing what changes you can make to really improve numbers and just get the best end results. So that's really what kind of is one of the most interesting parts and keeps like the day-to-day interesting for me. It's like I love interacting with people. Like I love Contractor Dynamics, like the coaching and stuff, just because it's kind of cool to be able to go in and like solve problems and kind of help people like see, and then it's just really rewarding for me. So I love coaching, love running ads, and then kind of on the free time side of things, on a personal note, I've got a blind pit bull sitting right next to me named Skipper that he's my little work buddy. And then obviously I'm in Arizona, so hiking, golfing, being outside, a lot of cool stuff to do out here. So
that's awesome, man. So one of the things, we'll get into Facebook stuff in a minute, but you said you were making Instagram accounts for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. So we have a 5 or 6 month old puppy, and he has his own Instagram account. My wife runs it, and there's reels and videos and all this stuff. So
I know
we'll have to add that into the show. Just kind of drop his handle there so we can get some more followers. So interesting that we live in a day and age where dogs have their own IG.
I know. Who would have thought like 20, 30 years ago that now that animals have their own social medias, but they're cute. So yeah, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, like my wife ran a poll last week on his Sir Duke dog is his handle or account, and she ran a poll, and I'm like, oh, did you get much interaction on that? She's like, yeah, we got like 13 votes, and I'm like, man, that's more votes than I get on my business stuff. Like I can post some like some content that can potentially grow and transform your business, and I'll get less interaction on that than the Duke gets on his reels. It's like, come on, man, it's crazy.
I know. It's just like ads, so it's like people, that's why you got to make the ads so good, because people would rather keep scrolling and look at videos or pictures of dogs than they would click on your ad. So same concept. It's just people like dogs, so you got to make ads more interesting than dogs. But yeah.
Or incorporate more dogs into your ads, which I should probably.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so that's really cool. And so one of the things that's interesting, I just thought of this. Like, so you have door-to-door sales experience in roofing and solar. Dan and Alex here on our team, our marketing advisors, they sold roofs for many years. And I come from the contracting background, so I think it's cool that our clients that are in the roofing and contracting industry come in and work with us, and we've got like not only the marketing experience, but we've got the hands-on experience as far as like the sales. So like what's so important in advertising and marketing, and I think I love this part of the game. It's the messaging that's going to cut through the noise and connect with the people that you want to connect with. And that's something that I personally work on like every single day in my content. It's like, not trying to like, not like work an angle, but like, what's the value? Like what's going to get people's attention? What's going to get them like emotionally charged enough to consume this piece of content and then potentially take action on it. Whether it's taking action that they're just, they're implementing the advice that I'm giving, or it's contacting us, doesn't matter. One of our core values is that we're a trusted advisor to our market. So if our content can better someone in some way and they never contact us or give us money, that's great, right? And so like that's the game, in my opinion, is like, how can I work on that message that's going to just connect with people and get them to be like, yes, I need this. Like, this is the thing I need, and I'm going to go take action on it. Like that's huge.
I think it's cool. I think it's cool kind of like, I mean, it's one of those things that it may be, I'm sure, I mean, anybody in door-to-door that has kind of door-to-door experience, but I mean, it's like door-to-door and ads are kind of the same concept from like a psychology aspect. It's like you're basically coming to somebody cold and you only have a few seconds. So it's like what's going to matter if you're going to somebody's door? It's like, how are you approaching them? Like, what's the first thing you say? What are those first few seconds like? Like, what's the appearance like? Like, what's the offer and stuff like that? It's really, I mean, that's the same thing with ads. In a way, it's just ads kind of give you the ability to knock a lot more doors virtually. So it is kind of just the same concept, at least in my opinion, and experience-wise, just from doing both. It's like the same psychology kind of goes into both sides of it, where it's just like you have a few seconds to cut through the noise, get the attention, do the right things, get them hooked, and kind of like show the value and why you're there. So that's cool to see too.
Yeah, I never really thought about it that way. It is. You have a couple seconds, whether it's, here on the phone, someone's scrolling a mile a minute, and usually multitasking, you have like a couple seconds to get their attention. Same with at the door. Regarding the messaging, you work in different industries. You work with a lot of, obviously a lot of our clients directly. What is one of the things that people get wrong in general with their messaging? Where do people go wrong with that?
So really on the messaging side of things, I would almost take it to the first level, or take it back a step first, because really with ads, you're not, and this is one of the mistakes that I see sometimes, like there's a process when it comes to ads. It's like the actual ad itself is going to sell the click. The next step, whether it's like a landing page or a lead form, is going to sell getting the actual contact info. And then it's like from there, that back end system, the follow-up is really what's going to be selling, getting that end step or that end goal, which may be an appointment inspection, giving a quote, whatever that looks like for you guys. But the whole thing about messaging is really it needs to, one, call out exactly who you're talking to, have a clear call to action and next steps, and ideally have an offer and be aligned throughout the funnel. So it's like and then one thing too is typically when you're on an ad, the only thing people are guaranteed to see is there's the primary text at the top, the image or the copy, and then the headline, which would be like next to like the call to action button, which is like learn more and stuff. And unless somebody really clicks and reads all the ad copy, that really leaves you with one line of ad copy, an image and a video, and then one line of text, which is essentially your call to action. So it's like you want to call out exactly who you're talking to. So it's like homeowners in Scottsdale, AZ, or Scottsdale with damaged roofs. Like, when's the last time you had your roof looked at? Like, that's something that creates intrigue, is going to be guaranteed to be seen by every single person that sees the ad. And then if you kind of tie that in with like having an image of maybe a damaged roof or something like that, and then the headline, which is next to the call to action, being like have storm or have roof damage, click here to claim your complimentary assessment or something like that. Like that's something that would be aligned. But it's like if you have some super long form ad where the call to action is maybe claiming an assessment or something like this, or claiming an assessment or an inspection, and then you send them to a form or a landing page that's automatic or that has like a higher level intent, which is something people don't talk about too, is like if you're running a low intent, or if the messaging is kind of worded around something low intent, like a complimentary assessment, you definitely don't want to have something like that's basically trying to sell them on the next page in the step, which I've seen on a lot of ads. It's like you want it to be really congruent. So it's like if your ad copy and image are talking about like claiming an assessment or a complimentary inspection or a quote like that, you want to stick with that. So it's like you want to call somebody out or call out your audience, basically have a question or a question or a statement that kind of creates intrigue, create that social proof, or kind of establish yourself. Like, you may not know this, but like a lot of homeowners we've helped a lot of XYZ or homeowners in XYZ like get a roof replacement due to like the recent storms that have came through, like something like that, where it kind of shows like, okay, this is how this works. This is how we'll help you. And this is the next step to basically get the help like we've given to the other people in your area. So the biggest thing I would say is like, you want it to be simple in the fact that everything should be aligned, where when somebody looks at that ad, within 1 second, they can tell what it's about and they can see what the call to action is. And that next step is going to have the clear call to action, because people either click out of interest or click out of intrigue. And it's like, you want people clicking out of interest, not out of intrigue, because interest means they're interested in kind of finding the next step, where it's like intrigue is more like, this sounds interesting, but like, I'm not sure if I really understand it. Let me click and see what it's about. So you really want people to be clicking where they know what that next step is. And when you take them to that next step, it's perfectly aligned with the ad they just saw, because that's really one of the biggest things that I know we see from ads in general, but also kind of in the program and stuff, is like, the conversion rates are always going to be significantly better when it's just a very clear call to action that matches up with what happened before. Because if you're getting a lot of clicks and not actually getting a lot of like leads or whatever kind of that step looks like for you, then I mean, that's a really good sign that people are probably clicking out of intrigue rather than interest. And it's like vice versa. If you're have X amount of clicks, but a lot of those people are filling out the form or filling out something on your website, then that probably means that your messaging is pretty congruent. And then you kind of start to work back on like, can we, I guess, juice up this offer a little bit or stuff like that. So that would kind of be what I would say on the messaging side of things.
All right, got it. So yeah, alignment, congruence, use those terms interchangeably, at least I will. It's the message, like whatever's in your ad, whatever's in your image, whatever's in your headline. If you're running Facebook lead generation ads, like the form in Facebook should have similar language. If you're sending people to a landing page, you should have similar language on that landing page. What's the psychology behind that? I mean, from my perspective, it's trust, right? Like when everything is aligned, you're all those little things like work together. It's like, okay, it's just logical. It doesn't make me think. It helps me build trust because this company, they have their stuff together. It's clear what I'm getting, and I think that if it's not aligned, then you're confusing people, and like people aren't going to sit around and like read your ad 2 or 3 times to try to understand it. They're just flicking their thumb and they're gone. They're out. So, is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I would even almost tie it back to the door-to-door again. It's like right when you're talking, like you can have a good start, but it's like right when you kind of lose, because it's really all about like trust. And it's like people need to kind of trust, because like people don't I mean, on average, people are only clicking 7 ads a month on Facebook. So it's like, that's so much noise to go through when you think about how many ads you really see on a daily basis. And it's like if that first point that like makes them think, unless you just have a ridiculous offer, like that first point where they have to like hesitate is where you're going to lose them. So it's like, that's why I almost think like, if this is somebody that is not even anywhere near the industry, like if this was somebody who's probably as far away from the customer avatar as possible, would they be able to comprehend it? Like that's kind of what I look at. It's like, you want it to be where like just super understandable to the point where they get to that next step, and that's where you kind of give them like the real information, like whether it's about your company, whether it's kind of about how the process works, or kind of just establish yourself. But really on that front end, I look at it like there needs to be trust, and there needs to be no part of the ad that really makes them hesitate, or because right when you hesitate, you lose them. And I mean, it's hard to get that back. I mean, you can do the retargeting. They may submit their info if they see the ad 2 or 3 times, but I look at it like I don't want to rely on people to like enter their information the second or third time. Like my thing is how can we get this good enough where they do it the first time, by building the trust, keeping it simple, making it easy to digest. And then it's almost just like, in a way, people kind of just need to be told, I wouldn't say need to be told what to do, but it's kind of like the more you kind of outline that next step, or kind of like what the process looks like, and kind of guide them, and assuming everything's clear, doesn't create confusion. I mean, I think that's really where we, especially in like Contractor Dynamics, see a lot of the people that consistently have really well performing ads is people that kind of are able to really, I guess, utilize that and just keep it clear call to action, and just reduce kind of any possibility of like friction or hesitation in the consumer audience's mind.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. We have our content and copy call every Wednesday, as you know, and I led the call yesterday, a small group call with our clients. And usually on those calls, it's like clients they'll share their screen on Zoom, and we'll look at their ad copy, and they kind of run it by us before they publish their ads, which is what we want. And a lot of times we do give direct feedback, and we try to, be nice about it. But like a lot of times it's like, hey, this ad copy makes me think too much. I'll say like, it makes my brain hurt. Right. And it's not like, you got to realize the person that's looking at your ad, they got a lot going on in their head. They're probably multitasking. They've seen thousands of messages already that day. And so you can't make them think too much. Like, it's got to be so simple. And, one of the challenges that, especially with an owner of a roofing or contracting company, maybe writing your own ads, things like that, doing your own marketing, too much about your service, about your product, right? So you have to, for lack of a better term, you have to dumb it down, because your audience is not thinking about their roof or thinking about their siding or doors or windows or whatever it is more than like a couple times their entire life. So like you got to make it so simple. And a lot of times like you will benefit by running that by, your son or your daughter or your spouse or someone that is not in your industry. Take it to your neighbor. It's like, hey, we're going to run this ad to this neighborhood. Like, does this make sense to you? And that's going to be really good feedback, just to make it simple.
That's what I was going to say too. It's kind of like, the outside opinions are always going to be super valuable. And it's like, it doesn't even, just because it's like and that's something that like is in all kinds of advertising. It's like when you're that close to it, it's like you have all these ideas that like, or I wouldn't say ideas, but like all the wording that you want to use, like, because you're really the expert in the space compared to like other people. Like essentially, if you're a business owner in that space, like you're gonna have a lot higher level of like messaging, like I guess kind of just, if you were to write the copy, you'd probably have higher sophistication than the average person. So it's like even just showing it to like 4 or 5 random people where you're like, okay, this like maybe like 4 or 5 friends or something where it's like, where they're, and just saying, what do you think this ad's about? Even as simple as that, because it's like, that's the best thing you can ever do. And I know we always say, it's like, you never really know. I mean, you can be amazing at ads, have all the right stuff, but you never really know those numbers and what things are going to be like until you actually have it running and have data. But I mean, before that, it's like the best thing you can really have is market research, and you don't have to do a ton for market research. Like Joe said, I mean, it's as simple as just sending it to a few people. Like, what do you think this ad's about? Like, what do you think the offer is? Like, what do you think, or just what's your honest thoughts? Because I mean, ideally all 4 or 5 of those people are like, you're offering a complimentary roof assessment or something like that. But it's like, and if people respond like that, then you're definitely on the right track with messaging. So
Yeah, for sure. I love when we go to conferences and events in the industry, and we put out a lot of content, obviously, like this. And so a lot of people are like, oh man, come up. They'll come up to the booth. They'll be like, I love your content, love your videos, that sort of thing. And it's always nice to hear. And some people are like, so like, what exactly do you guys do? And usually my response is like, well, like, what do you think we do? Because I want to know, like, what do they think we do? Like, are we putting that out to the market? I don't think we do a good enough job at that, so we have to dial in that messaging a little bit better. But it's you know exactly what you do. I know exactly how we help our clients, how we work with our clients. Obviously, I'm the owner, but it's so interesting to hear that from the market. That people that see your content, they still might not know what you do. Now with roofing, all right, it's a little bit more straightforward than like a marketing training company. I get it, but again, it has to be super simple. So let's move on from that. We got a couple other things we want to cover, but that's a huge point. The messaging, it's got to be dead simple. It's got to connect with, there's an old, one of the OGs of marketing, it might be Dan Kennedy, one of those guys. He says you have to enter the conversation that's going on in your prospect's head. So like, how can you connect with them and make that as simple as possible? So good point there. Now, Carson, you mentioned one of the things as far as like, what do companies do wrong? What do people do wrong? And you mentioned having a back-end system, conversion and appointments and things like that. What's that? Tell us what that's all about and why that's so important, and why so many people get that wrong or just completely miss that or are not aware of that.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, I would say really like the thing that goes overlooked the most often is like marketing and sales are basically, I want to say completely different systems, but it's like they're different systems that need to complement each other to make the end goal work, which is why unfortunately, typically when I hear from contractors, it's like a lot of them have worked with multiple agencies, hired multiple lead companies and stuff like that. And what you kind of see is the common trend of, well, they were getting leads, but what was happening on the back end? And the answer to that question is typically not much, because really it's like, and I said it a little bit earlier, but it's like the ad sells the click, the next page kind of sells getting the contact info, but the most important part is actually getting to the property or getting that final step. And it's like, that's what typically goes neglected, because it's not really where you can just call people once or twice anymore. It's like you need to have really consistent and time efficient systems in place. And I know we talk about this a lot, both me and you, and also in Contractor Dynamics, but just kind of helping people get set up with that stuff and kind of seeing the difference between before they had that set up and after, because it's like really you need to, or people need to have that trust just to kind of respond. It's like people are busy, like people can forget the next day if they submitted their info and still be interested. So it's like, one, people need to be called quick. People need to be called multiple times, but between that, there needs to be like automated text, automated emails, because it's like, and one of my favorite things to use there is basically a reminder, like say if you call them say if it's after hours or something like that, if they get a text 5 minutes later, like, hey, just saw you submit your information on Facebook, we'll be giving you a call tomorrow, keep a lookout for X, Y, and Z number. Because even making that change, I've seen a huge difference on some campaigns just in terms of the contact rate and stuff like that. Because it's like, I look at my phone, I've got so many random numbers on a daily basis calling. It's like there's it's the same thing with ads. There's so much noise to like sift through. So it's like, just because somebody doesn't answer the phone doesn't mean, I mean, I look at it like people aren't interested unless they directly tell you, stop calling me, I'm not interested. And it's like, so many people are like, well, I'm having an issue getting a hold of them. And it's like, well, a lot of people are also getting called because people are calling during office hours. So people are also working during those office hours. So it's like, my thing is that really the toughest thing to get is that first contact from someone, which is why, like, especially in like Contractor Dynamics, like the text and emails that get set up both in the program and just in general for all types of marketing systems are extremely important, because it's like that first contact is the hardest one to get. And even if you can just get like a yes or like a question back to one of your texts, like that's a huge step. And if you can do that consistently and say add automations that take that number of like for responses or initial responses, they're not all going to turn into calls or appointments. But it's like if you basically go from not having anything in place to putting something in place, I mean, that can reactivate literally as much as like 30 to 50% of those leads, or at least get them responding. Because it's like, once they respond to you, you know it's a legit person, you know they remember your ad, and then that kind of gives you the room to go back in and kind of, I guess, and then that's the thing too, I feel like some people kind of get uncomfortable following up with people multiple times, but it's like once they kind of respond and show interest, it's like they're interested. Just like some people take longer to get a hold of, and it's just kind of, I guess, balancing that line of being consistent, staying in front of them, but not like being annoying, like hammering them with text calls and emails. But I mean, I think there's definitely a balance of kind of mix of text, emails, calls. And I mean, when that's kind of all in place, that's the difference between going from lead gen company or marketing agency to kind of having like really your own system that's going to be sustainable, scalable, and predictable. So I think that's probably the most important part of especially marketing and like local and stuff like that, because I mean, anybody can generate leads, but it's like the money's really made with those systems and getting those contacts. So
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, it's a lot of people, a lot of companies, when they figure this out, they realize they don't need as many leads as they thought they did, right? It's like, I don't need 500 leads a week. If I could just maximize the opportunity that I'm getting from the leads I'm already getting by having such a system, then that's, like you can, like you said, grow your business by 33% or 50% or whatever it is, by converting more leads into appointments, more appointments into sales. And that can make a huge difference. So yes, as a plug, that is something that we help our clients build inside our training program, is not only like the ability to generate leads, but a lead handling, follow up, and nurture system to keep those leads in your ecosystem, in your pipeline, so you can just basically follow up with them forever with a combination of some automation and some manual stuff. And then so I would challenge anyone listening, watching, to think about how you respond to people calling you, right? So my phone, I'm a little weird maybe, but like my phone is on do not disturb 24/7. So I don't get phone calls. Like I get nothing. My wife hates it, but whatever. I get zero notifications. The only time like I look at my phone, when I look at my phone and there's notifications, great. So I'm not answering any phone calls that aren't scheduled. I'm not answering any phone calls, certainly from numbers I don't know. Who listens to voicemail anymore? Not me, not many people. So like text messaging has become super important. Like the response rate on text message, the open and response rate on text messaging, SMS, is like in a 90th percentile or 90%, whereas like emails like 20%. Phone calls, I don't know what the data is on that, but like SMS has been huge for us. We use Chirp software. We'll put a little logo on the video there and a link below as well. We recommend that to our clients. Chirp has been an awesome partner for us because it enables you to like quickly respond automatically via text message, which is huge. So think about how you respond, right? Like for me, there was someone I was texting with this morning, or actually emailing with this morning, one of our kind of partners in the roofing space. And he's like, hey, give me a quick call. We'll just go over it real quick. And so I was like, all right, I'll just call him right away. I'm the type of guy where I'll either call you right away or it's going to take me a day or two, because it's just, that's the way I am. And it's like a lot of people, when they submit their info on like a form on Facebook or on your website, call them right away while they're in that mode, or else it might take you, if you wait 10 minutes, it might take you 24, 48, 36 to get in touch with them. That's just the way that humans are, right? So that's huge. All right, so we went through number one, the messaging. Number two, having a system. And one of the other things that we were talking about, Carson and I, before we hit record, is the psychology of the expectations, I guess, around lead gen. So can you talk about that and where people kind of stumble with that a little bit?
Yeah. So, and this is what I would say is kind of a shorter part, but it's just like one thing that's pretty common is to kind of, or that I would say is seeing a good amount is like a lot of people, it's like once you kind of have a belief about the leads you're getting, that belief kind of stays there, and it either turns into, if it's good, you're going to keep spending a lot of money, but if not, then you're going to get frustrated. It's going to kind of just feel like it's just not going to be a good situation. So it's like a lot of people want to look at things like you could have barely spending money, get 4 leads, 2 of those turn into appointments, 1 of those closes last week, but then it's like you have a down week and you get 2 or 3 leads, like 2 of them didn't respond, 1 turned into appointment, didn't show, and then it's like now you're against Facebook. So it's like one thing to understand is like you want to be looking at, it's just really important before starting campaigns to really look at your numbers, like, and as that data kind of comes in, so you're not stuck in kind of the window of, well, we didn't get any leads today, or we didn't get a deal this week, or stuff like that. You want to be looking at a longer term time frame of like, okay, well, if we average these two, because really what you want is baseline numbers. You want, what's our baseline cost per lead? What's our baseline contact rate? What's our baseline appointment, inspection, giving a quote, and then what percent of those are booking. And it's like, once you have that really, and kind of write those down, that really helps you a lot, because it can kind of tell you like, okay, this is what we can expect to pay to acquire a customer. Like, this is how much we want to, this is how many customers we want to acquire. This is how much we should spend a month. But it's like, if you kind of keep looking at it like a day-to-day basis, it's like, you're going to feel great some days and you're going to feel down some days, or the other days. So it's kind of just like being able to take a step back and look at it from a longer term, or look at it from a longer time window, because it's like, it's really hard to be, because the whole thing you want is consistent, sustainable, scalable. And it's like, I've really never seen somebody get there by looking at shorter time frames, and it's definitely something you have to work on, but just one of those things that you have to understand, like being patient. And it's like, instead of just looking at the ad account every day, you actually have to write down those numbers, because that's really what's going to give you, like, help you kind of have peace of mind about it, is when you can look and be like, okay, these are our numbers. Because if you're kind of stuck looking at things on a day-to-day window, it's going to make you want to pull your hair out some days. So that's kind of the biggest thing I would say there.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's something that you and I work on with our Contractor Dynamics ads. We'll look at the data. That's something that we help our clients with, as far as they have a tracking sheet where we'll pull that up and we'll say, how many leads did you get? What's the cost per lead? How many of them are turning into appointments? And our most sophisticated clients, they know what it costs them to get a new project. So like, we have one client that their threshold is $600. Like they're comfortable spending up to $600 to get a new re-roof project. We've got a solar client, their threshold's around $1,500. Like, they know that that's profitable for them. So as long as they're getting projects, signed contracts for $1,500 or under, it's like, let's keep going. Let's keep spending money on this. So you need to get to that level of data. And we could probably do a whole entire episode on that and how to track that. We should actually do that. But that's super important. And you want to have a long-term view on this, but you also want to have the ability to track and analyze, maybe not a daily basis, but at least like once or twice a week, so you can analyze and adjust. You can improve over time. It's not a set it and forget it thing. So those are the 3 points that I want to drill home in this episode. Carson and I both have calls coming up in like 5 minutes. So we're going to recap. We got the messaging is super important. Super important with the messaging. Number 2 is that lead handling system that speeds lead, having some automation there, especially with text messaging. And then number 3 is having that long-term mindset and that strategy, having the ability to analyze and adjust on the short term to make sure that we're continually improving. So So let's wrap it up there. Carson, I appreciate that. I really wanted to just, dig in here for some of the big topics. We can probably do an episode on each one of those topics and more. And that should give the audience some clarity on what to expect and how to win with social media advertising.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think those are definitely kind of a good starting point, and really the main takeaways that anybody can kind of look at and just get a good idea of like where they are and kind of like what changes they need to make, like if they need to get any help, get people involved, kind of like change what they're doing, start new stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really, if I had to break down to 3 things, that would be what I would look at if I was a business owner or contractor right now. So yeah.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for your time, your expertise. Appreciate you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Of course. Appreciate you having me.